Welcome to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy, powered by the Retirement Income Store and brought to you by Agemy Financial Strategies in Guilford, Connecticut and Denver, Colorado.
One of the reasons why the greatest generation is called the greatest generation, in my opinion, is because a lot of them had gone through the Depression in one way or another, whether they were babies or they were adults or whatever the case may be. And one of the things they were taught because of the Depression was to not waste things. And the other things that they were taught in regard to the Depression was the danger of the stock market. I mean, as a whole, generally speaking, it was very difficult. You couldn't drag the greatest generation into the stock market with a team of wild horses. So they were dependent upon the bank, and they loved the bank, and they got interest from the bank, and they lived off their interest. They were afraid of the stock market, but loved the bank, and they did not have to worry about running out of money because especially in the 70s, the interest rate was going up. At the end of the 70s, it was double digits into the 80s. And interest was good. They did not have to worry about running out of money. They were not interested in the stock market, and things were good. Today, however, we have the reverse. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today, we're talking about, yes, you can retire on your dividends. Dad, tell us about that. Why do you not have to worry if you're living off interest from the bank? What's the difference between markets or dividends?
Well, that's a great question, Daniel. A lot of people have been taught, but yet a lot of people haven't been taught that the important thing is to be able to live off the interest, not off the principal, because you only take the interest and you always have the principal. And, you know, if those people that are normal listeners to us, we talk about the chicken and the eggs, right? And the chicken has a renewable resource of eggs. And as long as you have the chicken, you keep having the eggs. So as long as you have your principal, you keep getting the interest. And as long as the interest is a number that is livable, well, that's really good. And so as opposed to the stock market, however, well, you don't get interest from the stock market. Investing in the stock market is kind of like investing in roosters. Roosters don't lay eggs. They get fatter, they get skinnier, just like chickens, but they don't have that renewable resource. And but what we're talking about today, yes, you can retire. You can retire on dividends. Interest rates are very low, but dividends and interest are still available for people to be able to live on in retirement, the renewable resource that will allow them not to run out of money during their lifetime.
So, you know, that saying that people typically say backwards, have your cake and eat it too, eat your cake and have it too, however people say it, right? It makes more sense if you say eat your cake and have it too, because if you can't eat it and have it, right?
Yeah, right.
That would be kind of what we're talking about here when we're talking about dividends, right? You're eating your cake and you're having it. You're eating your dividends or you're spending your dividends. You're living off of your dividends, but your principal stays intact. Your $1 million in the account is there, and you get to have that for passing on to future generations. You get to have that as a safety net. You get to have that for whatever your heart desireth. But in the meantime, either you're having money pour into your account and grow it organically, or you're taking that out and your lifestyle is based upon those dividends and interest, kind of like when you used to go to work and collect a paycheck.
Right, exactly. And that's the beautiful thing about it, because that's why we always talk about your money is working for you instead of you working for your money. So many times people are putting the money, the people that don't trust the stock market today are putting their money in the bank. But when it's in the bank, they're not getting any interest. So It's like their money's sitting on the beach sipping pina coladas, but they're out working hard. And it needs to be just reversed, right? That their money needs to be in the sweatshop, working hard, earning dividends. We're earning interest in something. And the problem is that most people don't know what that something is. They say, oh, well, bonds are not good and dividends are not good and interest rates are not good. And so the only thing that there is to invest in the stock market. Not true. Not true, is it, Daniel?
No, we want to help people overcome some of these limiting beliefs today, and that's what that show is about: overcoming these limiting beliefs that there's not a way where you can have that safety net of knowing that you have this stream of income, this renewable resource coming into your account or paying for your lifestyle, and you don't have to spend down principal or have your money, as we say, just burn. Right? Burned by inflation. It's sitting in the bank, just disappearing every year, right? Last year or the last 12 months, 30 or 40% of your money kind of just disappeared because we increased the money supply by that, right?
Right.
So can we talk about what is dividends? What are dividends? What are interests? How do you get them?
And Daniel, that's a great segue. And I want to remind you and our listening audience that you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is, yes, you can retire on dividends. And a lot of people don't understand how dividends work and whatnot, but we have a commission report that we put together for today's show to be able to be able to help you understand what dividends are, what interest is, and where you can get those from. So it's called The Universe of Income Generating Investments. The Universe of Income Generating Investments. So we'd love to be able to get you this report so that you can understand the concept behind living off off the interest, off the dividends, and generating income from your investments rather than just growth. So you can have that report by calling 800-725-7616 or hitting us on our website, agemy.com. agemy.com. Get your report now. One of the things that Agemy Financial Strategies is all about, and Financial Strategies, the radio show, is about helping people understand what they don't understand, helping people to know what they don't know. And Daniel, you asked the question, how is it that people can be able to generate income? And there's a universe of options other than the stock market. Some things are involved with the stock market, but there's a lot of things that are not involved with the stock market. They might be in the bond market, fixed income market, whatever, but they're not the stock market. So they act differently than the stock market. And there's a variety of different things. Right? There's CDs, three types of individual bonds, not bond funds, but individual bonds, preferred securities, BDCs, business development corporations, real estate investment trusts, as well as some of your other favorite things that you like from that standpoint. And so there's a whole host of things that people don't even know that they don't know exist.
I think people don't know what interest and dividends are because the banks haven't paid it for so long. And Can you actually tell us what, for the people who have forgotten what that is, can you tell us what a dividend is? Can you tell us what interest is? Because seriously, we're used to tech investing, right? And tech stocks typically don't pay a dividend. We're used to having money in the banks, and you'd be lucky to get like 2 cents, right, on your interest in the bank. So let's take a step back further and re-explain when you're talking about the greatest generation and them collecting, historically how they collected dividends and interest to provide income streams. What does that mean?
Right. Okay. All right. So, in 1979, 1980, the Treasury, the 10-year Treasury, was paying about 10%. Let's see here. So 1979 actually was 9.10 for the 10-year, but 1980 it hit 10.8, went up to 1982 to be over 14.5% interest. So let's just take the 10% interest. You invest $100,000, you're getting 10% a year, and that's $10,000 a year You're getting interest. That was a beautiful thing. I had some money back then, even before I was in the business, and as a college student and so forth. And I was making some very good money on that double-digit inflation. I mean, I had a money market account that was paying 18% interest at one point in time. And so in the example of the 10% interest with the $100,000, you're getting $10,000 a year. That's quite the sum of money. And then, but the $100,000 remain there. So maybe an easier way to explain this, a lot of people listening to this show remember the 5% savings accounts that we used to have prior to the early 90s, where we could just put the money in the savings account in the bank and they paid us 5% every year. And you have $100,000 in the bank. Well, at the end of the year, we got 105. We could take that $5,000 out and spend it, but we still have the 100,000. So then in the next year, we have another $5,000. Or if we left it there, because of the compounding aspect, we actually have almost $111,000 because of compounding. Then the following year, we left the 5,000 there. We'd have closer to $116,000, $117,000 there. And the compounding aspect of that is just phenomenal. So much so that at 5%, if you leave it alone, your money would double. That $100,000 would double in about 12 years or so. And that's one of the things that has gone by the wayside. That kind of thought, that kind of interest rate has gone by the wayside. People became enamored with the stock market in the 1980s. The Dow was at 700 in 1980 and went up substantially over the next 20 years, 17-fold to 11,700 in 2000. But it dropped in 2002, cut in half, went back up all the way in 2007, went up to 14,200. So went above the 11,700 and then some, but then that cut by 60%, went down to, I believe it was 6,700 at the end of 2008, beginning of 2009. And then the market has gone up and up. Since then, we've had some pullbacks at various times, not quite as bad as that, but people have been enamored with growth. The idea of going from $10 a share to $11 a share, $12 a share. The problem with that is it goes the other direction. You have a loss. But with interest and dividends, you get the interest, you get the dividends, no matter what happens to the chicken, no matter what happens. As long as the chicken is alive, you still keep giving the interest and dividends. You still keep getting that money every year. If you've just started listening to us, we're talking about, yes, you can retire on dividends. Today's show, you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. And we have a piece to go along with today's show. We're going to talk more about interest, more about being able to retire off of dividends when we come back from our break. The piece that we have to go along with today's show is called The Universe of Income Generating Investments. That will give you some idea what it's about. And we also have a book to the next 5 callers called Common Sense Income Strategies by Michael Easom, CPA, PFS. And Michael's a friend of mine that wrote this book. A lot of people have enjoyed this book, got a lot of good information out of it. It's an easy read book that's not financially easy. It's enjoyable tales about Mike, his family, and how to be able to invest and have the eggs that you need into retirement. So you can have this book by calling 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616, or get the piece, The Universe of Income Generating Investments, either one or both, calling 800-725-7616. And we'll be right back after this.
I'm David Scranton, founder of the Retirement Income Store. If you're in or near retirement, are you certain you have the right retirement plan in place? Do you want to help ensure your nest egg will last you all throughout retirement? Take our retirement review quiz and find out in 5 minutes or less if you're doing everything you can to achieve a more successful retirement.
Visit us online at agemy.com. That's AGEMY.com.